we're back. Welcome back to the Weekly Roundup, where this is the place where we unpack what's been going on in the yoga, wellness, service, devoted entrepreneurial world. And what we've been coaching our clients through. There's always a theme. We've got some good ones. I started off today off camera here just saying, been up since 5 and had two intense conversations already. So we've got a secret double blink from Carol that I get if I get out of hand here. We could we could go somewhere. Maybe we jump right into mindset. I feel like kind of
Mm,
working reverse. Mindset is this thing as an entrepreneur that it's always been part of the conversation. As long as I've been in business, mindset's part of this. There are entire books on business mindset or mindset for this or whatever else. And it's kind of like, in my mind, this modern word that gets thrown around now too much that it almost discredits it sometimes, or a lot of the like extremist viewpoints in certain business realms talk about mindset and it paints it in a negative picture. All of that to say, the weird part that I'm experiencing now, specifically in the service wellness world, is that it's not enough of a conversation. Like, it's barely the conversation, and it very clearly needs to be. As a coach, we see it all the time that it just literally impacts every single element of a business. And so, yeah, mindset. How do you? I think the simple big one that maybe I'll kick over to you, Carol, is it's like positive mindset versus negative mindset. That's like an oversimplification, but just that alone, it's interesting. Two entrepreneurs, different mindsets, same scenario, different outcome as a result.
Well, I'm finding it interesting too that let's say somebody has like a less than stellar result of something they put together, that how they react to that also shows their mindset. Whereas like, okay, this workshop that I put on didn't produce what I thought it would. Do I say, well, I'm never doing that again? Like that was a bummer and it's never going to work because I've tried it before. Versus, okay, wait, what can I learn from this? Can I tweak this thing? How can I make it better? That shift in the perspective, I think, is also really important. But there are literal like studies now that say that your brain will look for the thing that you are focusing on. And like if you go into something that thinking that this isn't going to work, or I hope it does, like almost like tiptoeing into it and just like not really sure, like you're just going to see all the negative results. And then the universe is going to keep feeding you what you're focusing on. So like this is real stuff that I think that it's interesting to talk about. And I think, I mean, I see it with my clients sometimes where it's like right now, Terry, you're saying you have a couple clients that are like, well, this isn't working because of this, that, and the other. And then we're on the other side seeing other clients who are crushing it. And all the reasons that this client is saying that things don't work are bogus because we're seeing a lot of people doing great things. So it's just an interesting topic. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was just going to double down on what you just said. That's the red car theory that we've talked about, right? Like, you don't have a red car, then you do, and you see red cars everywhere, and you're like, how did these red cars magically appear? Just your brain is so good at filtering out reality because it's too much information at any one specific moment in time. But that's the thing, is that then you can train it to look for things. And if your emotional operating system, your nervous system, is the thing that drives you forward from an inspiration standpoint as an entrepreneur, kind of a good idea to train it to look at good stuff and to like be good at finding that, or finding the silver lining or whatever. Not to gaslight yourself and not be real about the pragmatic situation that's at hand, but just you can the same. I've always found it fascinating, and every person on the planet is guilty of this in one way or another. I'm the worst at certain moments in my life for sure, of like two people, identical scenario, one of them becomes stronger for it and the other one death spirals, like what is that? That's all internal. That's the real battlefield there. So, man, business is a good testing ground. Good testing ground for that because it will test you. That's going to happen.
I think I was just Carol when you were talking about, the universe and stuff. The thought popped in my head, the original algorithm, right? The original algorithm is, you get what you attract, and it really is true. And what I'm seeing in some of my clients is they're using what's happening in the world. And yes, let's acknowledge it. There's a lot of shit happening in the world right now. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it is so far out of most of our control, right? So focus on things you can control. And using that as an excuse in a couple of places, I feel clients are using it as an excuse to give their team a pass. It's like I just had a conversation with a client. It's like, no, it's like because your team isn't doing what they should be doing. You're still getting plenty of people coming in the door. You're still getting people coming in. They're just not doing what they need to do to convert them. So by the owner, in a way saying, oh, it's because of this, this, and this. And even if it is because this, and this, which certainly is proven out during the pandemic, there's ways to work around it, and there's ways to get creative, and there's ways. I like what you said, Josh. You use it as an opportunity. What can we do better? Okay, if this is the result, what can we do better? And then also recognizing the fact we tried to come up with a term, and this is one I came up with. Well, it's not new, but is recognizing there is there is space. We are human beings to be upset about something, to feel down, to feel defeated, all of that stuff. So have that pity party. It is okay to acknowledge the pity party. If you do it with your bestie, whoever you do it with, don't do it with your team. Do what somebody outside your team, whatever is go have a glass, whatever it is, have that pity party. And that's okay. Acknowledge what's going on. And then seriously, suck it up, buttercup, and figure out how you're going to move forward. Because that's the essence of being an entrepreneur. And as Josh said, I guess you had it's like, or either that, or just throw your keys in the ocean or in the lake, or flush them down the toilet, close the business, and leave. Right? Those are your options. It's either like you figure out a solution, you succumb to everything, and you sit there with the perpetual pity party, or you figure out a path to move forward. Right? And I can speak from this from absolute personal experience. Because a seven, I have a story. So I had my studio sold. Many of you know this, my story of I had my studio sold. We were scheduled to close March 18th, 2020. And 3 days before that, everything in the world shut down. That studio sale fell through. Actually, I did have a bit of a pity party with Josh. Josh was the one that I had the pity party with. I called him up and he gave some very fabulous advice. He said, Terry, your studio is only worth as much as someone's willing to pay. And that was like, okay, big curl panties. I'm going to say big curl panties because I am a girl and I can say that. I put my big curl panties on, sold it again, and was able to leave. Right? So I speak from experience on that is what I'm saying, Josh.
Yeah, the analogy that I was thinking about this morning for the focus on what you can control, it's like if you're driving, I learned this in downhill mountain bike racing and training, and then you learn this in driving, and then if you ride motorcycles, this becomes exponentially important. So I learned it there as well, like again and again, because motorcycles being the extreme example here, but downhill mountain biking too, there's no such thing as like a small fall. If you're going down a hill at, on my bike in my day, like 65 kilometers an hour and then flying through the air, you don't just fall over off your bike at that point. And so the thing you learn is that the whatever's in front of you that you don't want to do or don't want to hit, you don't look at it. You literally like register it's there and have the path around it, but then you don't look at it anymore. If you look at it, you hit it. That's where your vehicle goes. And in racing, if you watch, there's like eye sensor things on the helmet of racers, especially in like MotoGP. They're in their motorcycle. and their eyes are already out of the corner. Like they're heading this direction and they're looking over here already. They've already know where the bike's going. It's that far ahead at every moment. And also their eyes are very still. They're not moving around all over the place. And so it's a focus analogy, but also it's the like if we say don't push the red button, where immediately do you look? You're like, look at that red button. And then you really want to push the red button. You got kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the analogy is like if you're driving your car and someone swerves in front of you in your lane and you're heading head onto you, you could focus on like, what an a-hole. What's this person doing? You're putting us at danger. Oh my God, you're going to hit me. Don't they know the rules of the road? You could spend time focusing on that, and guess what happens? Then you get hit by the other car and you're dead. Or you could focus on steering yourself to safety. Like oversimplification, but that really is the idea. And so to your point, Terry, same thing. Like there's all these things happening outside of your control at any moment in time. Yeah, okay. That's true. And they suck. And you can vent about them. But like, what are you going to do? Is the only other question, inclusive of your staff, etc. I think where it becomes the problem is what you said. Like it's when external things that you can't control become your excuse to not do the thing. The proposition that I would make is if there's external factors outside of your control that are making things bad for you, instead of using them as the excuse to not do the work, like what if you use them as the challenge to work even more or better? Not more in time, but it's like, what if you went to your team and were like, yeah, economy's harder now and this, that, and whatever. We're just going to have to be that much better. Go ahead, Bridget.
Yeah, I this is like really one of my favorite topics and something I've been like working on in my own life for like 15 years. So I have a million things. So I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can. First, fun fact, the red car thing is controlled by your reticular activating system in your brain. So it's a real thing in your brain that when you think about, when like you break up with someone and they drive a certain car and then suddenly you see their car everywhere, that's the experience, and it's your reticular activating system. Um, One of the things that Terry's comments were reminding me of is that one of the things I had to learn on this journey of like changing my mindset is that happy and like carefree is actually not the point. It's not the goal. It's not about being emotionless, or like it's not about not having negative emotions. It's not about being like zen all the time. That has nothing to do with it. And I think that stops people from sort of buying in on the like positive or growth oriented mindset thing, because they think, like, that's unrealistic. And why would I be happy all the time? There's really horrible shit that happens in my life and in the world all the time. And that's true. That is totally true. But this isn't that. This isn't about ignoring that or not having your emotions. I think I have a very healthy mindset in business and in my life. And I like sobbed on my couch for like 20 minutes a couple days ago, and that fits, that totally fits in with all of this. So that's one comment that I wanted to make. And then one a little bit more practical thing I wanted to share. And then I actually was going to ask your guys' thoughts on this too. I think it takes a couple wins in business, especially if you're like me. And for whatever reason, when you became an adult, you were kind of oriented towards a more pessimistic, like negative mindset. And it takes a couple wins sometimes when you're trying to shift this in business specifically. And I think one of the ways we stop ourselves from experiencing those little wins is, and this might feel like sort of a detour, you guys, so stick with me, but I think one of the ways we stop ourselves from experiencing these little wins is we try something and we quit too early. And we've talked about this a lot on this program. But I think a lot of times this negativity comes in from it's like, well, I tried that and it didn't work. And I tried that and it didn't work. And I tried that and it didn't work. And they're kind of right. They are, do keep trying all this shit and it isn't working. And part of that is because you're not actually sticking to something long enough to become good at it. And that's how you, that's what, for me, that is the biggest mindset shift when I, because for the first couple years in my business, I was that person. Like we were doing fine, but it wasn't like ever really growing. And it was just sort of like I had no idea where to go next. So I was just sort of throwing things at the wall. And what happened was I got a coach and I started actually getting some wins under me because I educated myself and then I had the coach that made me stick with it. And now when I hit a roadblock in my business, which I certainly have, yes, Terry was one of them. She wasn't the first one, but she was definitely one of them. And when I hit a block in my business, this happened just earlier this year, a little bit in last year. I was really feeling pissed about it at first. And I was feeling some of those things we were talking about, which is like, well, this isn't going to work because this is just what the industry is like right now. And like, I don't know, I'm completely stuck. There's nowhere to go from here. And then I reminded myself of all the times I felt like that before. And I actually just educated myself. And then I stuck to the plan. And then I followed through and I reaped great rewards. I was bad at it at one point, and then I got good at it. And that's how every single problem in my business I approach now. And now it's like a fun game. I like coming up to something I don't know about in my business now because I'm like, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to become an expert at something that I knew nothing about before. So that's what growth, that's what a positive mindset looks like for me.
So what Josh said, and then what you just said, and even what Carol said too, it popped in my head, is control what you can control. And you know who was a master at this, who actually really got this dialed in 50 plus years ago? Ever heard of a guy called Walt Disney?
Oh, I was going to guess Bikram. I was like, it's always
No, not
Bikram with
Bikram,
these
not Bikram,
people.
but
I
Walt
don't know.
Disney. Walt Disney, and then somebody else who I really admire and been following is Jesse Cole, who owns the Savannah Bananas. If you haven't checked them out, he is a great thought leader, and what he's done with his baseball team is amazing. But anyway, what they say is, what can we control? And I think right now, to your sense of wanting to have some accomplishment, and what Josh said is, this is an opportunity to look at what you are doing and do it better. Right. So what can you control? You can't control the economy, you can't control, but you can control the class experience. So let's go back to some basics. Okay, if people, we want to make sure, damn sure, that our first visit flow is absolutely dialed in because we can control that. We can control what people see when they walk in the studio, what they smell, how their interaction is. We can control that. We can train our staff. If you haven't looked at it lately, this is a practical tip. What's happening when people come into the studio? Are the teachers engaging? What about your class experience? Okay, let's dial that in. Let's do some additional training. If I had a conversation with a client yesterday, we recognize that some of our teachers need a little bit extra additional training to bring them up. So, hey, let's do that. So having those proactive things that you can control can help shift potentially. Kind of, I think you said that, but it was what you were saying, Bridget, is when you use it as an opportunity to improve on something, it can help shift that mindset. And then who knows, like I said earlier, it's like stop giving your team an excuse. And what can you do to empower them? Josh.
I think the interesting part in this, Bridget, when you were saying that, and Terry, that you're sort of corroborating, right, is like real problems, like real true problems, they hurt really bad and immediately force action. This is the idea we've talked in the past about the beta region paradox. where it's like it's not bad enough that you have to take action. It's just bad enough you can complain about it. A lot of the external stuff that we use as excuses falls in that category. Real true problems hurt and they force action. Untrue problems equal rumination. That comes from ego. Non-action, because you're spending time procrastinating, ruminating on it, is a result of non-trust in the world, but that really means self-trust. That's what Bridget's saying. They're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not sure how to whatever. It's a self-trust. This is why it's a mindset thing, where it's the doubt, the fear of failure, whatever. It's not conscious. We've all got this in us, but just like you can catch yourself realizing that you're getting stuck in that rumination thing. And like under the surface, this is what's maybe happening. And Bridget, to your point before of like, now you've had this mindset shift of like, okay, well, now I get to learn this new thing. Yay me. That's the exciting part. It's part of like our core model, our core code in Artha too, of like a devoted entrepreneur. That's who you become in our sort of business philosophical approach, understands that the journey, like doing the work, is the destination. That's the whole point. So, oh no, I have to work and do this thing. Yeah, that's what you signed up for. That is the point. Like everything comes from that. There's no, so why are we like, don't worry about it. It's easy to say, don't worry about it. I'm not saying you just do that, but you know what I'm saying, right? And then like the practical, how do you do that piece that you sort of alluded to, Bridget, is like, it's how we approach coaching too. If you don't know what's happening, you measure something. Once you understand the core problem and your measurements prove it, the next step is educate. You don't need to know how to do the thing, but you need to figure out what it is and then be like, okay, I'm going to have to figure out how to handle this. And be creative. That's the educate step. And then action is the third. There's three more steps after that. We don't have to go through them. But that's just, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. That's exactly what it is. That's how you're going to do it. Measure it, you're going to educate yourself on it, and then you've got to implement towards it. And you'll get there. The non-attachment piece is like the attachment to time. We want it right now or just by tomorrow. Like it might take a minute. It might be hard. Yeah, sure. That's the whole point.
Just talking to a studio owner the other day. Actually, just today. Actually, we were going back and forth with voice notes, and we don't know each other that well. She was. I was offering some thoughts on a company she was thinking about working with, whatever. And as she was replying to me, and she was sort of telling me her whole situation, and it became clear that she had no actual idea what she needed from the company that we were both, mutually familiar with, and that she was asking my advice on. And it was very obviously a measurement problem. She had not measured any of the details in the situation, and it occurs to me that that is when business feels like so what's the word, hopeless,
Yeah.
is when you're just floundering around and you don't. And I remember this very well from very early on in my business. And that was part of what made me feel so negative. And I didn't even really know it was just, I didn't actually even know what my problem was. Like I had no idea what my problem was, and I just knew something needed to be fixed. And that is, yeah. So I think that's a huge part of what can shift to mindset is like, do you even know what your actual problem is? Or are you just sort of like blaming things and like feeling sad and blaming yourself when you don't even really know what the issue is?
Yeah, the way we write measure is awareness. Like step one is awareness, and there's multiple layers to that. You can't do anything about something, you can't achieve something that you're not aware of. the thing about like business growth with a ceiling too. Like ceilings in business don't exist. They only exist within the current paradigm of how you operate. When you can't see what's beyond the threshold of your knowledge base or what you have measured or what you're aware of, then you can't work towards it. Like you can a little bit, but you have to keep uncovering more to see what there is to do. The there's a graphic, super old business graphic that we should actually remake. It's of miners digging a hole. They're digging and digging and digging, and they just see nothing, 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 and then they quit and they turn around and go all the way back, and they're 1 foot away from hitting the gold in the ground. And it's like, if you knew that, you would, if you knew for sure, if you were 100% confident, like the gold is there and it's in this direction and I'm going to hit it, all I have to do is keep digging. How hard do you dig? Or the analogy in maybe this spins us to the next thing too. This came up for recently. I think we said it on one of these too, with like social media or whatever in business, with content creation. If some genie in a bottle situation, God, whatever, was like, look, Carol, you and your business are 97 Instagram reels away from an explosion of business and making $10 million. How fucking fast do you start making Instagram reels at that point? Like how many a day can you put out? How hard do you try at doing them? You know? It's the not knowing, to your point, Bridget, and the like the narratives that we create in our head and that rumination part, like that's the real painful part. So I don't know. I always think, or like, yeah, awareness, measure what's happening. Like, what's the actual core problem? When we do a free call. We call it the momentum call for people who are, seeing what we're about, and it's a real coaching call. The goal of that call is momentum because, like, if we can help you uncover what you should be focusing on, you'll start gaining momentum. Just yesterday, I'm on with a woman and her business, she comes on and she's like, I really think that we need to do this. And we're like 5 seconds into the call and one question deep. And we've started the conversation with, if I just did this, then the business would be good there. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, so like what's happening with your KPIs or this number or whatever? She goes, well, I don't have any numbers. And we go and look, we find one number, and it was like the exact opposite of the solution she's proposing, which is not a commentary on her quality. It was a lack of awareness of a situation. That's it. So find the real problem, and then the doing the work part, like as soon as you get on board with, okay, and now I'm going to go through the path to figure out how to solve this problem, however long that takes, you'll get there, or like something will happen. If you do something, something will happen. That's like a stupid way to say, like, will it be exactly what you hope it is? I don't know, but something will happen. If you do nothing about it, nothing will happen, or at least nothing good, or it's unlikely. You might get lucky though. You might win the lottery.
I love the analogy you've used in the past. It kind of goes with the miner and the hole, but I like this one too, is you plan something, you chart the course, and you set off from shore, and you're going along, and you can see the shore behind you in the distance, and then you get into the middle in the doldrums, but you can't yet see the end, and you can't see the middle. So oftentimes the same thing. It's like you turn around because you know what's behind you, and you're not confident what's in front of you. And sometimes that is when you have to take that leap of faith and see something. Bridget, to your point, see something through, do the hard things to get through it, because you might have given up just before that 97 Instagram reels. I really, to me, I love that analogy because it really is a very strong visual of, okay, if I know this is the direction I'm going, I just have to have faith and confidence and work my plan that I will get to that other shore.
We asked this came up in this weird way with a group of us recently with the kids. If all the lights are off at night and you got to walk down the hallway to the bathroom, You open your door and you come out as a kid and you look down the hall and it's dark and it's scary. But once you get to the bathroom and finish your business, is it scary walking back? Nope. What's changed? Nothing. I mean, you run a little faster because you don't have to pee anymore. But like, it's the unknown part is where all the tension comes from because we're not wired for truth. Your brain does not want truth. That's not what it's looking for. Despite our inspiration, motivation, whatever else, it's not an in the moment action that does. We're wired for security and comfort. That's it. And so, of course, you turn your boat around. I know it's that way.
Not only are we wired for security and comfort, but security and comfort specifically, we are actually even more than that, if I may say.
Hmm.
We are wired for what's already known. And so
Familiarity, yeah.
actually, even if the thing that's known is deeply uncomfortable, your brain still wants you to do that more than anything
Yeah.
else. Your literal nervous system is designed to do that. You have to overcome that. You have to be smarter than your systems. You have to be brave, and actually you can of course train your nervous system to be less afraid of the unknown. But you are wired to go back. You're wired to go back. So just remember that every time you want to quit whatever you're on, speaking to myself 100% too, reminding me, you have to, yeah, you have to remember that there's a force that you are not consciously aware of necessarily, that is asking you and will try really tricky stuff to get you to go back. Is like very intelligent at trying to get you to go back.
And
Yeah.
part of that too, Bridget, there is another actual fact, psychological component to that, is if you recognize that something needs to change. I've talked about this before. It's called the drift, and you're all in it together, and you're all feeling that whatever it is, what is it, commisery runs company or whatever it, and then you start to take action out of that. People will actively try to pull you back down
Yeah.
into the bad thing. Because when you break out of something, whatever it is, and you start doing something that's different, that makes people who are in that same thing with you feel very uncomfortable. Because now all of a sudden you're gone like, well, if Terry can do it, maybe I should do it, as opposed to, well, none of us can do it because of this, and this, which is why it's important to surround yourself. If you get into places like that, is seek out mentors, do things like that things that will help support you as you work to pull yourself out. And I've said this before, and sometimes it is true. Some of that could be your staff. You may have to jettison some staff at sometimes if you have staff that are constantly fighting against you and constantly pulling you back and
We
constantly.
got there.
We
Fire
got
some
there.
staff.
All
Fire
right, we
some
got there
staff.
to staff. I made the connection. Anyway, burn
487
it down.
episodes in a row. Fire
Anyway, so that's
somebody.
my point there, is that sometimes you do have to actually break away, break those bonds, and find people to support you in this endeavor to help you reach that other shore, because they're going to be potentially be people actively pulling you back because you're showing them that there is a better way to go.
Yeah. Yes, I want to add to this just a quick comment to go back to Bridget, what you were saying too. I totally agree. The familiarity, like security and comfort is the desire, familiarity is the only known, and the nervous system doesn't have future projection. And so
And consistency.
it,
Consistency too is part of that formula.
yeah, it, that's the devil you know concept of like it's going to calibrate to that because at least it feels like it can manage it in some way. That's also in part, I was reading this thing talking about, we talk about the curse of knowledge. Like as soon as you know something, like really deeply understand and know it, and on the deeper level, as soon as your nervous system knows it. So once you find the new comfort thing, you immediately erase the knowledge of the other thing. And you don't have to do anything for that erasure. It just happens. And so what's fascinating is yeah, you want the familiarity and comfort, and that's the tension point, but you can recalibrate that actually quite quickly. You just have to give it the next more comfortable, better, more familiar thing. That's kind of it. Um, I want to add this comment too, because Carol and I kind of talked around this not that long ago at an on-site too. You're alluding a little bit, Terry, to this idea of like you're the product of the five people you spend the most time around concept. One of the hiccups in the human-based service, wellness, fitness industry that I see, it's everywhere, but especially it's like amplified, in the businesses that we work with, is what you just said of like your staff might be the thing pulling you down, influence you in a negative sense. We should do this, we should do that. This is a little controversial, but like, why are you even participating with your staff in that level? Like, you're empowering them to be able to do that to you. You are not the same, you're not equals in the sense of your business that you own, or if you're managing the business, not on a human level, on a business entrepreneurial level, they need you to lead them. You have to be the person pulling them up. And so that's that's the part that we see over and over. Well, yeah, but the staff doesn't like this, or that's the excuse part that we're making for them that you're talking about earlier. Yeah, well, the staff all kind of voted and they decided that we wanted this, this, this. You're like, cool. And so, like, how much are you paying yourself this month? Nothing. What the fuck are we talking about then?
Hashtag Terry's dad. Whoever said this was a democracy.
Yeah,
I heard that 1,000 times growing up. Whoever
yeah,
said this was a democracy.
yeah. An interesting thing related to that, Terry, that came up on a call. I've got three studios right now. One of them we're mostly through it, or three businesses actually. One of them we're mostly through it. One is just starting. One we're in the thick of it, where they're having this like tension point between the manager of the studio, quotations manager, because in a couple of the cases it's like that's the title, but they're not really managing anything, and the owner and like the direction of the business. And this democracy piece comes up because in all the cases, the manager like wants this democratic approach to things. And part two, as an extension, we were talking about the idea of partnership versus ownership. For whatever reason, it feels really nice for us to be like, well, we're in a partnership. We both run this teacher training together and we partnered to do it, to collaborate, to bring it to fruition, that whatever. And you're like, okay, but who owns it? Well, I guess technically, like it's my money and my students in my studio with my marketing effort and my payroll and my et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, well, okay, cool. So, like, what's this partnership thing? Like, did they invest money into this? Is it a separate entity? No, like none of these things. And so it was just the idea that like partnership and ownership are not the same thing. Partnership on the like employee side is a language used to empower them to get to feel like they have ownership of something and to kind of have some bragging rights around it without any of the actual responsibility of ownership. On the owner side, this thing that I'm seeing outside of the context of these businesses even too is we get asked all the time, but same thing on our momentum call, someone comes on, they're like, have you ever seen a successful Pilates studio set up as a co-op? They're like, well, the fact that you're asking that question probably is the answer to that question. Like, have you? No. Is there one out there? Sure. And define successful as well. Or they say, I'm really hoping to like take on a partner. This manager should they really care, they really want to be part of the business. I'm thinking about maybe I'll just start giving them some equity to the business instead of a pay raise or whatever else. I'm like, okay. But when we get down to the deep level of like, why are we talking about partnership? What you're actually saying is, I've been holding the weight of this business on my back for 10 years and I'm burning out, and I would like to redistribute that weight onto more people that are not me. The solution I've come up with is I'll make this person my partner. But that's not how that works. Because you're like, I want to give away some of the responsibility and ownership, and I'm going to call it partnership. Anyways, long-winded way of saying in both directions, we see this all the time. Partnership and ownership, not the same thing. This democratic commentary, hashtag Terry's dad, to me, it ties into it because that's part of what this is. It's this idea like, well, if I let all of my people vote towards the direction of this, that, or whatever, even though they have almost no skin in the game, and what like then that will somehow result in something better. It doesn't mean don't listen to your staff or get ideas from them or consider them or I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying the actual control part of it. It's just not actually how that works. You got to get to that deeper level of like, what are you actually solving for by doing that? Being liked by them, or like you think that this distributes, it like takes the pressure of you being the person who's made the decision on something that's hard.
Carol, how did you handle your partnership? Because you truly did have a partnership with your studio, right?
Well, Carol's is full legal proper partnership. I won't speak for Carol, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we from the very beginning we were legal partners in the business. And yeah, I mean, we just did our best to distribute the work evenly. We started out just doing everything together. Like if you're teaching 4 classes a week, I'm teaching 4 classes a week. And then we did the bills together. And then it's just sort of over time spread out into a different, like we fell into what we were good at. And, so I don't know if that's not exactly what Josh is talking about. I feel like, because we were never trying to solve that type of situation. I mean, we were really good, I think, at some point of finally realizing like, how do we take the burden off of us and then, get down to the lifestyle that we want to have and only teaching this many classes and putting a manager in place and to do this, that, and the other. So, um, yeah, we didn't have to take on anyone else for that to happen, if that makes sense. So,
That's actually a brilliant path. I'm not sure I knew that detail specifically. Like if you're starting a business and it's going to be a partnership, we always talk about you got to have like all your T's crossed and I's dotted, and you're not going to get it perfect. You have to have a caveat for that, but like what's the operating agreement? What's the split of things? What about this? What about that? Like that clarity needs to be there, but then practically what do you do next? The idea of like just do all the things together, that's really smart.
but we were
That's that's
learning.
that's right, but like it's brilliant though. Even if you had an expertise and they had an expertise, if you just did it all together, you would both see the whole business, and that natural calibration just makes sense that you would go there.
Yeah.
And also, it means you both, like you said, you each learned how to do things so that if one was out, because you both had children during that time, right? So it's like if one was out, it's like, or if one was sick or whatever, the other knew what needed to be done to a point. You didn't operate in a silo.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing. You didn't operate in a silo. Each knew how to do the other things, even if it wasn't their real jam kind of thing, right?
Eventually we got into like I was in charge of payroll,
Yeah.
and she probably wouldn't have been able to she would have figured it out
Yeah.
or had the SOP for it, but it wasn't her jam really. But yeah, that's kind of how it shook out.
That's smart. There you go. If you're thinking about starting a partnership, that's how you start it.
Well, we
I
did
still
last
don't.
19 years and we're
Yeah,
still friends. So it worked
we
out.
looked it up. We looked it up once. I can't remember the actual statistical data points, but it's like most small businesses close in less than 5 years. Wellness businesses, it's less than four. Female-owned ones, it's a higher percentage. It's like goes from 55 to 68%. And then partnerships, it's like that times two. It's like they just don't make it. If anyone ever comes to us and they're like, well, I'm really thinking about starting this partnership. And we're like, okay, why? Like, is there any other way that this could formulate? not that we actively deter people from it necessarily, but like a little bit, we have to ask the question. I would feel like we wouldn't do our job otherwise, because it's the worst business relationship from a success rate standpoint. And the number of people come to us with problems around it. Carol totally beyond beat the odds. There you go. Book a coaching call with Carol. She'll tell you how to
How to do that. And the most,
manage someone else in a partnership.
if nothing else, if you like to Carol's point, we didn't know exactly how to divide the work, but they had a partnership agreement. That's the other thing, is making sure that
Yeah.
whatever agreement you have is you have a legal agreement with it spelled out. You know, the financial blah blah blah. What happens if one wants to leave? You know, all of that stuff spelled out. So if at some point in the future something happens, you have that agreement to go back to.
One day, eventually in the future.
One day, eventually, or in the future, when your bone joint skeletal system improve.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
How
my
do you
God.
start social media?
Whoa, that was a sort of not even a segue.
Now that we're on that topic,
Now
I
that we're on
mean,
that topic,
how do we
You brought it up.
Bridget, since you brought it up,
since you brought, okay,
Carrie.
Josh, you know, I was really wondering about social media, and Bridget, you were mentioning that the before. So how do you start with social media? And,
Yeah.
oh, and or because I've been really, do you have to?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a good, I don't think you have to do anything. So I'll just start there. You definitely don't have to do anything, but this was a topic that came up on our mastermind. If you don't know about our masterminds yet, you have to come. They take place for our Artha community, and I've been loving ours. We had our second one this week on Tuesday, and it was just really great. It's sort of designated, you're designated by sort of where you're at in business. And so all the topics tend to be related to other, like everyone else is wondering sort of the same thing. So we have a gal in our group who we actually have a few in our group who are just starting their business, haven't even opened in some cases. And she, which was a brilliant question, was kind of like, social media? Like, what do I do? It seems like a full-time job, and everybody's doing all this stuff. And just, yeah, such a good question. I have plenty to say on it, but I'll just leave that there for now and I can swing back around to me. Anyone else have thoughts? I can
Well,
see.
before you even open, like show pictures of what's going on. Like just, people want authenticity. They want to see what's happening. And so and learn about you as the owner of the business and what's new to their community. So that would be a really easy thing to start with if you're like brand new. Just show the space, show what you do, talk about what the product is, talk about the benefit. Like, I don't know, like, is this a question? Like, just get on there and do something.
Is this a question? I love it. There, you know, you're making me think of Carol. Maybe you and I both saw this person too. There was a woman on TikTok. I think she's in Florida. She's a baker, like owned her own bakery. And it was during COVID. Everything gets shut down. Of course, she's in Florida, so she's not. And then, but her business was really struggling because still it was like early, and there was a moment where like whatever, people weren't going out and patroning businesses the same. And long story short, she goes on TikTok and that's all she did. She's like, "Hey, like my name's Twyla and I bake." And then she totally raw video, poorly polished, maybe music chucked on the background, like today I'm baking bread and whatever. She got overwhelmed with orders to ship shit all around the country and like completely exploded. Like to the point of like couldn't handle, had to hire people because she couldn't handle the volume of orders for her to ship loaves of bread and brownies around the country. And so there's that moment in time of that or whatever. But the same person, I'm pretty darn sure you had to ask them before, like, what do you think about social media for your business? And they'd be like, I don't know, do I have to do it? Like it would have been that same thought. Um, the way I would say the same thing you're saying, Carol, like, what are we talking about? It just I think that we get so hung up these days on some of the specificity of things. And in the beginning, like you've got to zoom yourself back out for a second. There is a moment where you should look into the finer details and ask these questions. But most of the business owners we work with are starting there. And so even though it's not super minute, just the question, social media, yes or no, it's too detailed. Like the question is, okay, you're a new business or you're about to open or whatever. You need people to know about you. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. How are you going to do that? Well, I would have to say something in some format somewhere. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Where are people's eyeballs? The people that are going to come to your business, like, where do you think you're hedging your bets? And it's on the cheap too here. You're new, so you don't spend too much money, maybe. Where is that? Pretty sure you're going to end up on social media. Like, it's, it's just, it becomes a non-choice piece in that sense, not because you have to do social media, but like if you just logically work through what am I trying to accomplish in my business, there you go.
I think one of the places I always got stuck is that I felt like I needed to come up with new concepts or like new messaging.
Mm, mm.
And honestly, it can be the same message, just repackaged like 20 different ways because not everyone's going to see that one post that you did about hydration or whatever it is, like, or, cold therapy or like they're going to see, and if they see it again, if they see the same message again and again, that's part of it. Like
Yeah.
putting the repeat, the memorization that comes with like hearing the thing over and over again, that's part of it. So if you have one main message, put it out there 20 times or more, like just keep going on different platforms. So it's another thing to think about.
Isn't it
Terry,
something like
here's
30, you need something like 30 plus impressions before they need to see it constantly, which is why you have all the cookies and the retargeting and all that stuff. You kind of goes with the red car thing. It's like you have to see it over and over and over and over again.
yeah, as an adult, we memorize through repetition. Novelty still counts. As a child, you learn and memorize through novelty. That switches into repetition, which is why we have the concept of practice to get good at something as an adult. Here's the test, Carol, to what you're saying. Terry, what's the what's the core like power message in your opinion of Simon Sinek? You read it.
The power message of Simon Sinek is that um, you just show up for leadership. I mean, leadership is you just have to
What
show
does it
up.
start with?
What's it? The why? What's the why? Is that what you're talking about? What's your why? What's your why? Simon Sinek is what's your why? Just what
Yeah.
is your why? So again,
Starts with
okay,
why. Yeah.
what starts with why? It's a great book. If
Okay.
you haven't read it, it starts with why. It's
Okay, so
why
it's
are
a
you doing
book.
this? It's a book.
What other places have you ever seen him say exactly that same thing?
Gosh, just about everything I consume from him. He always is talking about the why, getting back to the why.
Every podcast,
Yep.
every talk on stage, every video his team puts out, he's got a whole book. It's the same, like, but the point is, like, is he smart and does he have other things to say and other opinions on things and other content he could talk around or a new angle to whatever? Yes, 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 yes. But Simon Sinek is literally the leadership, leaders eat last, leadership starts with why guy. And everyone can envision that little circle chart where he's like, there's why, and then it goes out to here, and out to here, and out to here. Like, just how many times do you think he's done that? His entire career exists because of this one single message. But your hot Pilates studio should make a fresh piece of content off a different subject matter and make a different point with a total new polish 2 times every day.
Your hot Pilates studio actually is the exception, just like you're thinking it is in your head.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
the
You're you are you're the special one that
special one.
if you say the same thing 2 times in a row, something will explode somewhere in the universe. Like,
Yeah, I just Googled
yeah.
it because he did, it starts with why, find your why, that his thing. But I also, and it's the video popped up, it said, great leaders say, I love this. I don't know.
Yeah, that's his new thing. He's got 5 or 6 other core
Yeah,
messages that are
yeah,
really strong if you really
yeah,
follow him.
yeah.
But like, why is he known and what is he still touting to this day?
Yep.
Starts with why. Like, that's the
Starts with
whole
why.
thing. Yeah, I just knew that you followed him and have
Oh yeah, I
read
followed
his
him.
read his stuff or whatever a lot.
Oh
He's
yeah,
great.
he is great. He's a great TED Talk. He's a great speaker. Um, I just really like his philosophy. He's a hashtag Terry's dad kind of guy.
If you're hot Pilates studio, heat is a component of the studio. So when we're talking, how do you start with social media? We talk like, okay, social media, yes, no. Sorry, I got to add this comment. Who cares? Wrong question. Where are people's eyeballs? You're going to have to show them you and your business. Like until they're aware that you exist, they can't do business with you. Just solve that. Get over everything else about it. Social media is just a distribution channel. Maybe in the future it'll be somewhere else. Maybe one day every one of your avatar people coming to your business will be boycotting social media. Great. Then don't be on social media then. But until that happens, like what are we what are we talking about? So make content, but then where do you start? I think just to Carol's point, show them what you're doing, who you are, where you are, whatever. And then from a messaging standpoint, to me, that's always number two is like, what do I say? Just pick like 1, 2, 3 things. Keep it really simple. If you're a hot Pilates studio, you use heat. Okay, why the hell do you use heat? There's your subject matter. For the next 30 days, just for 1 minute increments, type, talk, video, whatever the fuck it is. Tell me about everything that you understand and know about heat. And if you're not really sure, go research it yourself. Like it's pretty easy. Just talk about heat every day for 30 days. At the end of those 30 days, people who have seen you, what do you think they're going to think about you? Oh, that's Bridget, the hot Pilates lady who's an expert in heat.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad for your brand? Sounds pretty good to me. You're a hot Pilates studio. Like what? That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all that is really good. And um I have a couple little things to add that yeah, sort of some stuff that I think is sort of the baseline for what you should have. And I kind of do think you do need to do social media. I'm sorry. I know it's
I know, I know.
so sad to say,
I
but
realize it's a losing battle right now. I do
I
realize that we
know.
need to have it. But I was going to say before you continue, Bridget, because I know you do a lot of it, is I also think we're at a time right now where raw content, unedited, just simple with AI and stuff. Now, I think you're actually better off. In the past, it was like, oh, it's got to be edited, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And right now, I think we're at this moment where it's okay to have not so polished stuff
Yeah.
because of AI. It makes it really, really real. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And this actually kind of brings us back to our original conversation. This is such a common one, and I know this very well, that this is the exact situation we were talking about before, where you start and then it's like, oh, no one liked my post, and then no one liked my next post, and then no one liked my next post. Trust me, extremely been there. And yeah, bitch, because you've posted 3 times in the history of the world. Like no one knows who you are. Like you gotta try a little harder than that. So it's such a it's such a like microcosm of so many things in your business that like you have to keep going. You have to keep learning because like, do you want me to be sad for you that you're not a social media expert after 3 posts? Like, you have to keep doing it. You have to get better. So, one thing I'll say is the biggest, most important thing you must do is get rid of
your expectations of perfection, it'll take you way too long, so you'll never do it. And then you'll end up posting like once every quarter. So you have to just be willing to post stuff that's stupid, that's cringe, that's unedited, like Terry said. In fact, that's great right now. People love that. You just have to keep going. Find something that's easy enough for you to post. I'll just say, like, practically, I think in this day and age, and figure out your specific demographic. If you're on Instagram, which I think a lot of us, that is where our people are, because a lot of yoga, Pilates a little bit, maybe tax a little younger, but um, Instagram is where 35 to 55-year-old women are. And that's at least my strongest demographic. I think you should have a story or two going every day, pretty much. You should have something, because it's like having your open sign on. It just shows that someone's alive. If I go to a business's Instagram and they haven't posted in 6 months and they don't have a story up, I'm like, oh, are they closed? Do they exist? Are they a successful professional business? So I think you should have a story going every day. It's so easy. Literally, it can be anything. And then get into some rhythm that you can do. If it's 2 posts a week, start there. If it's 3, even better. If it's 5, obviously it goes on from there.
Yeah, it's funny because we don't apply the same thought process or logic to our own business and own viewpoint of when we're the production part of this as you do to your behavior as the consumer. To your point, I'm like, okay, is this business real or good or whatever else? And then there's nothing on Instagram, nothing on Facebook. But I'm like, is it even open? Their Google thing, it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I can't even tell if this is real or not. But then on our side, we're like, yeah, but I mean, like, no one cares. I don't need to post on Instagram. That doesn't make sense, even for yourself, right? So the other thing I would add, I did this, I've done this a few times off and on, but I think it's a really good one when you're first starting, is get out of get out of the details. Having a clear plan strategy, Bridget, like you were saying, okay, we're gonna pick Instagram because that's where the eyeballs are. We're gonna do a couple stories a day. I'm gonna post a couple times a week because that's what I can manage. Like just pick and then just do it. And detach from some of the other details. Make a piece of content, post it, move on with your life. The second you get another piece of inspiration, do that again. Then, like, what time of day should I post? I'm going to post only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The Instagram reels have to be following the morning class, but before the afternoon class. Like, just in the beginning, delete fucking all of that. Don't listen to anyone talking about it. Don't measure it. I know that's counter to what we're saying. At first, just do it. And, like, literally do the thing, post, turn your phone off. Don't look at the likes. Don't look at the views. Do not respond to a single comment. Do nothing. Get 100 posts up as fast as you can. That would be like the challenge. And just see what happens. Like the part of the perfectionist part is our ego saying, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm nerve-wracked or whatever. Okay, I made this post and I spent all this time and blah, blah, blah. And now I posted it. And then we're looking for the feedback loop and we're making judgment of ourselves on like, oh, it only got 280 views and 4 likes and 0 comments. I must be a piece of shit. Like, have you ever stood and talked to 280 people in front of you on stage? I have. It's like a lot of people. And also, who cares? Did any of those people come into your business and pay you money today? No? Then what are you worried about? Like, just, it's the idea that in the beginning, getting the practice in place is more important. And so just delete all of have a basic consistency strategy that you can employ for yourself. Ignore literally everything else for the first minute because it'll just get your rhythm going. I think you used that word, Bridget. I really like that. What's your rhythm? Get that going. then you're going to need to optimize. Yeah, you should get better at posting. You just will. Yeah, at some point, you'll be like, oh, I notice that if I post in the evening versus the morning, this happens or that. And I can prove that in the metrics because I went and measured it. That's good information. Then adjust your strategy towards that. But until you have a bunch of data to look at anyways, none of that matters. Thinking about that strategy-wise, all of it in the beginning doesn't matter. What would you tell someone to do at your yoga studio? How do I win at yoga? Cool. Show up today and do a class. Okay, what should I do tomorrow? Show up and do a yoga class. What about the next day after that? Let me think about it. Show up and do a yoga class. How about on Saturdays? Specifically on Saturdays, though, wear your shirt backwards and then show up and do a yoga class. Like consistency first, consistency, frequency, accuracy, intensity. It's always consistency first. So the social media part, this is huge rant on just the idea of like, don't even look at any of the stuff. Totally gatekeep it from yourself. Make the thing, post, move on. That's it.
I'm doing a social media challenge right now, actually. I'm in the middle of it, not for my studio, but for this other account. You can follow it. It's Bridget Loves Yoga. And shameless plug. It's for a different kind of business that I'm trying to grow, kind of obviously tangential. But I was thinking after I'm done with this challenge, if I have a little bit of like knowledge and perspective behind it, I'm thinking we should do an Artha community posting, like a social media challenge. We could do like a month long, and anyone who wants to can join in, and we'll have like just a couple loose parameters, and we'll just see what we can do in a month. That's my thought.
I like it. We should 100% do this. Oh, here you are. Follow. Look at that. You just gained a follower. Amazing. There's all sorts of posts on here. Great. I think the how do you start on social media question is a good question at its core. I think that the key piece to all of this is like, and it's such a good example of other things in business and our conversation from previous as well here, where it's just do something, basically, but it's just get started. I don't really know how to do this or what to do there. Well, the only way you're going to really figure that out is to do it. And I'm not sure how to get this. Holy cow, this one happened to Carol and I recently. They're like, well, you can't get this KPI out of the system that we have. It doesn't exist. I'm like, well, I don't think that's true. Like, I haven't worked in that system for a minute, but like, I'm pretty sure it's in there. Let me reach out to Coach Terry, whatever, whatever. Finally, I get in there. It took about 4 seconds to get the exact KPI. Well, no, that's not true. 4 minutes because we had to download and then actually look at the spreadsheet. But like for months, there's this whole like, no, you can't get it. So we're flying blind with this and you can't whatever else. Social media doesn't work. I posted this one time and no one came in to the business. You posted one time and okay. One of the things that hit for me, like the social media thought that I can sort of maybe end us off for today, unless you guys have anything to add, is just this whole like just post and don't even think about it and move on. I was in a little personal challenge doing that. And what was amazing about it was I didn't get any, like I had a few more views after a while and there was some traction or whatever. Like if I had looked at the metrics of what I was posting and had been optimizing for that specifically, it would have looked like a shitty outcome or like just a stagnant outcome. Nothing really changed or spiked. I didn't like suddenly get something that like hit 1 million views and all of a sudden, whatever. None of that happened at all. But you can directly correlate that moment and then starting halfway through and for a month afterwards, we doubled the number of free coaching calls we got. And my personal like phone, because it has the business number comes to it or whatever, got all of these messages from people that some of them were even like a lot of them were past clients that haven't talked to in 5, 6, 7 years. And they're like, yeah, specifically saying, I've been really following everything you've been posting on social. This really hit home for me. I wanted to reach out. It just made me think I should reach out. I need help with this. Like it directly impacted our business. And in part, like the lesson that I learned from it was just in part that was because I wasn't trying to optimize for more likes or comments or better views or what about this or go to the link in my bio and click the whatever. It was just me fucking running my mouth like a butthead talking about business. That's it. So, from a business perspective, like what do you want? Are you trying to be a social media influencer or grow your business? Well, everyone thumbs it up. I guess that's it.
I'd say that's a wrap.
I'd say it's a wrap.
I'd say
Feels
it's
like a wrap.
I think it's a wrap.
I think it's a wrap.
That's a wrap on this week's Weekly Roundup. Tune in every Friday to make sure as well that you are subscribed to the show on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening from. Questions, comments, thoughts, what should we talk about next week? Post it down below if you're on the appropriate channel, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.